The night I knocked on his door, I had no idea I was about to unravel a secret that would change both our lives forever. My name is Rose Angelina Desmond. I am 33 years old and I live in a small coastal town just outside Portland, Maine. I have been here for about 7 years now. It is the kind of town where fishing boats rock gently in the harbor at dawn and the smell of salt air never quite leaves your clothes. I work as a marine biologist at the local research center, studying tide pools and documenting sea life. Crabs, starfish, anemones, kelp forests. It is work that requires patience and attention. You observe, you record, you protect. My house sits on a quiet street 3 blocks from the water. 2 stories, blue paint with white shutters, a small garden where I grow herbs and wildflowers. No husband, no children, no complications. Every morning starts the same way. Chamomile tea on the back porch, watching the fog roll in from the ocean. Then I head to the lab. Evenings are solitary, research journals. Classical music playing softly. I never felt incomplete. I felt purposeful. Across the street lives Michael George. Michael is 29. He works as a carpenter, building custom furniture in a workshop behind his house. His place faces mine. Where my garden bursts with color and life, his yard is simple and clean. A small vegetable patch, a woodpile stacked neatly against the fence. He is quiet, the kind of man who observes more than he speaks. Always polite, always helpful, always the first to shovel snow from elderly neighbors' driveways. But I noticed things others missed. The way he sometimes stood at his workshop door at sunset, staring toward the ocean like he was searching for something he lost. The way his smile seemed practiced, like he had learned to wear it for other people's comfort. There was a loneliness about him that felt familiar. We started talking about 3 years ago when a storm damaged my back porch railing. He knocked on my door offering to fix it, said he had extra wood from a project. I insisted on paying him. He refused. After that, I started bringing him things. Fresh bread I baked, vegetables from my garden, books I thought he might enjoy. He would invite me into his workshop. I would admire the tables and chairs he built with his hands. Our conversations stayed surface level at first. The weather, town events, his latest commission. But slowly they deepened. My research, his dreams of opening his own furniture store someday. Sometimes I felt like he wanted to ask me something but stopped himself, like he was afraid of the answer. That night in early autumn, the air smelled like wood smoke and dying leaves. I had just got home from the lab. My hands still smelled faintly of seawater. I made myself dinner, but I couldn't eat. I kept staring at the envelope on my kitchen counter, the one from the fertility clinic, the one that confirmed what I already suspected. I was running out of time. I paced my living room, clutching that envelope, feeling the weight of years of grief pressing down on my chest. Finally, I grabbed my coat and crossed the street. No plan, no script, just desperation and trust. I knocked on his door. It was late, almost 9. I heard footsteps, then the porch light came on. When he opened the door, his expression shifted from surprise to concern in an instant. "Rose," he said, "are you all right?" I shook my head. I wasn't all right. I hadn't been all right in a very long time. "Can I come in?" My voice cracked. "I need to talk to you about something." He stepped aside without hesitation. His living room was warm, smelling faintly of sawdust and coffee. I sat on his couch, my hands trembling. He sat across from me in an old armchair, his dark eyes searching my face. "What's wrong?" he asked gently. I took a shaky breath and told him everything. About the accident 6 years ago, the husband I lost, the daughter I never got to hold because I miscarried 3 days after the funeral, the depression that swallowed me whole for 2 years, the therapy that helped me survive but never quite filled the emptiness. And then I told him about the clinic, about the test results that said my fertility window was closing faster than expected, about how desperately I wanted to be a mother before it was too late. "I want a baby," I whispered, tears streaming down my face. "And I trust you more than anyone. Would you help me?" The room went silent. He stared at me, his face unreadable. I rushed to explain. No expectations, no obligations. I would raise the child myself if he wanted. I just needed someone kind, someone I trusted, someone who wouldn't disappear. He stood up abruptly, running his hands through his hair. He walked to the window, his back to me. "Rose, He stopped. His shoulders were tense. "There's something I need to tell you first." I wiped my eyes. "What?" He turned around and I saw something in his expression I had never seen before. Fear, raw, genuine fear. "I can't help you the way you're asking," he said slowly. "Not because I don't want to, but because—" He took a deep breath. "Because I'm not who you think I am." My heart started racing. "What do you mean?" He sat back down, leaning forward with his elbows on his knees. 7 years ago, I made a choice. I donated to a sperm bank in Boston, multiple times over 6 months. I did it because I needed money. I was broke, desperate, and it seemed harmless. I frowned, confused. Okay. I signed away all parental rights, he continued, his voice thick with emotion. I never thought about it again, until 3 years ago when I got a letter. A lawyer contacted me. One of the donations resulted in a pregnancy, a little girl, and the mother, she died in childbirth. No other family, no father listed besides the donor ID. My breath caught. The state tried to find me because of a genetic registry I was part of for a medical study. They tracked me down, asked if I wanted to meet her. This little girl, my biological daughter. Tears were forming in his eyes now. I said no. I was terrified. I had no idea how to be a father. I convinced myself she was better off with adoptive parents who knew what they were doing. So I signed the papers, let her go, and I've regretted it every single day since. I couldn't speak. My mind was reeling. Her name is Lily, he said, his voice breaking. She's 4 years old now. She was adopted by a couple in Augusta. I get updates twice a year from the agency, pictures, little notes about how she's doing. She has my eyes, my smile, and I gave her away because I was a coward. He looked at me with devastation in his eyes. So you see, Rose, I can't give you what you're asking for, because I already failed one child. I don't deserve to be part of bringing another one into this world. The weight of his confession settled between us. I stood up, walked over to him, and knelt in front of his chair. I took his hands in mine. Michael, I said firmly, you were 22, you were alone, you made the choice you thought was best for her. I was selfish, he whispered. You were human. I squeezed his hands. And you've carried this guilt for 3 years. That tells me everything I need to know about who you are. He shook his head. You deserve better than me. I deserve honesty, I said, and you just gave me that. That's more than most people ever do. We sat there in silence, both broken in different ways, both drowning in regrets we couldn't undo. Then an idea started forming. Crazy, impossible, but maybe perfect. What if we found her? I said quietly, his head snapped up. What? Lily, what if we tried to meet her, not to take her away from her family, just to let her know you exist, that you think about her, that you care? Rose, I can't just... You can, I said. You should. And if you're willing, I'll go with you, because maybe we both need this. Maybe we both need to stop running from the past. His eyes searched mine. Why would you do that? Because I know what it's like to lose a child, I said softly. And I know what it's like to wonder what if. You have a chance to answer that question. Don't waste it. Over the next few weeks, we made calls. Lawyers, social workers, the adoption agency. It was complicated. It required counseling sessions, background checks, mountains of paperwork. The adoptive parents, Sarah and Thomas, were hesitant at first. But when we explained that we weren't trying to disrupt Lily's life, only to be part of it if they were comfortable, they agreed to meet. We drove to Augusta on a cold November morning. My hands were freezing despite the car heater. Michael gripped the steering wheel so tightly his knuckles were white. We met at a park. Sarah and Thomas were kind, cautious. They brought Lily, bundled in a purple coat, her dark curls spilling out from under a knit hat. When Michael saw her, he froze. She looked up at him with those same dark eyes, tilted her head, and smiled. Hi, she said shyly. Hi, Lily, he managed, his voice thick. I watched as he knelt down to her level, watched as she showed him the pinecone she found, watched as something broken inside him started to heal. Over the following months, we visited regularly. Sarah and Thomas welcomed us into Lily's life slowly, carefully. She called Michael Mikey and started drawing him pictures. She asked me about the ocean and crabs and starfish. One evening, after tucking Lily into bed during a weekend visit, Michael and I sat on Sarah and Thomas's porch. I don't know how to thank you, he said quietly. I leaned my head on his shoulder. You already have. He took my hand. Rose, I know this isn't what you originally asked for, but... He paused. Would you still want a baby? With me? Not as a favor, as partners, as a family. I looked up at him, my heart full. Are you asking me to build a life with you? I'm asking you to take a chance on a carpenter who finally learned what he's really supposed to be building, he said. A family, with you, with Lily. And maybe, if you still wanted, a baby of our own. Tears spilled down my cheeks. Yes, 1,000 times yes. We were married the following spring in a small ceremony by the ocean. Lily was our flower girl, beaming in her white dress. Sarah and Thomas came, standing beside us as family. And 6 months later, when the doctor confirmed I was pregnant, Michael held me in his arms and whispered, "Thank you for knocking on my door that night." I kissed him. "Thank you for telling me the truth." Our son arrived on a quiet winter morning as snow fell softly outside the hospital window. We named him James. When we brought him home, Lily held him carefully, her little face serious with responsibility. "I'm a big sister," she whispered in wonder. "You are," Michael said, kissing her head. "And you're perfect at it." We built a life I never imagined possible. Messy, complicated, beautiful. Lily visits every other weekend, part of 2 families who love her. James grows bigger every day. Michael's workshop is always full of projects. My lab work continues. And every evening we gather together. Telling stories, sharing meals, building something real. One night, sitting on our porch watching the ocean, Michael took my hand. "I was so scared that night you knocked on my door," he said. "I thought you'd hate me after I told you." I squeezed his hand. "You gave me more than I asked for. You gave me truth. You gave me you." He smiled, pulling me close. "I gave you everything I should have given Lily from the start. I'm just grateful I get a second chance." Inside, the baby monitor crackled with James's soft breathing. Lily's drawing of our family hung on the refrigerator. And I realized that sometimes the family you build isn't the one you planned. Sometimes it's better. What started with a desperate question became the answer to a prayer I didn't know how to speak. And in the end, we both found exactly what we were searching for.